Have you been injured by someone else? How do you know if you have a valid case? In Massachusetts, there are 4 elements to what we call a negligence case. The first is duty, breach, causation, and damages. These are the very 4 elements that you learn your very first day of torts class in law school. Duty. Every single person in society has a duty to act as though they were a reasonably prudent person under like or similar circumstances. What does that mean? When you're operating your car, you have a duty to act as a reasonably prudent driver. Now that's a bit of an amorphic thing to think about, so let's talk about it. As a reasonably prudent driver, you need to follow the rules of the road. You have to not run people over. You have to not cause mayhem on the road. You have to act like a reasonable person behind the wheel. And if you're not acting like a reasonable person on the road, you're gonna be in breach of that duty. So you have your duty to act reasonable. If you're not acting as a reasonably prudent person of like or similar circumstances, you have breached that duty. The last element is damages. The breach of the duty has to cause the damages at hand. What does that mean? It means if you're texting and driving, you're not acting reasonably, and you get into an auto wreck, you've caused whatever injuries you've caused to the person who's injured. So if as a result of the auto wreck, you broke someone's arm, the natural damage is a broken arm from the auto wreck. And the question becomes, what's the value of that broken arm? Juries and courts and insurance companies will look at various factors to determine damages. There are measures of damages, and there are different factors that juries and courts and insurance companies use. Lost wages is a good example. A second example is a loss of earning capacity. As a result of the crash, as a result of the injuries you sustained, you were unable to make as much money as you otherwise could. That's loss of earning capacity. Medical expenses. Medical expenses are a really big one in damages. Insurance companies look at the amount of medical expenses, and that becomes a measure of your damage. It's a sum certain. It's an easy number. Another example is property damage. That can be a component of it. Loss of use. Another big example, and this is kind of the amorphic one, is conscious pain and suffering. How much money is it worth? What's the value in having to go to the doctor 3 times a week? Of having to go for physical therapy multiple times a week? Of not being able to spend that time doing the things that you like or want to do because you're being forced to go to physical therapy, hospitals, doctors? Or in catastrophic injuries, how much is it worth for the amount of time that you're in a hospital bed? And that's a really big component of damages, that conscious pain and suffering. That's an important part of our damages. And we use our experience, our knowledge of the client, our getting to know the client, to really understand how did these injuries affect our client. It reminds me of a story of a client I had who wore a suit every single day. And he sustained some nerve damage in the tips of his fingers. And it didn't necessarily prohibit him from moving his hands. What it did was every single day, when he buttoned his shirt, it caused him pain on his fingertips. So he would button his shirt in the morning, and he would have pain with every single button. At the end of the night, he would take his shirt off and unbutton it, and it would cause him pain every single night. And through a series of conversations and knowing our client, he explained to me this pain that he experienced every day. Now, this story is one that I don't think a lot of lawyers would have learned about if they didn't get to know their client, if they didn't spend the time to care about what's going on in that client's life. Things like picking up their grandchildren, going and playing golf with their kids, or even skiing with their kids are all things that sometimes are overlooked. I had another case with a client that explained to me, and maybe I'm dating myself, this is before rearview mirrors and cameras, that every time he looked over his shoulder, it caused him pain and he had a difficulty to do it. And this was something that we learned from really talking to our clients and finding out what's going wrong, what's affecting them. And we use all of those stories and all of those knowledge to create a story for the insurance company and to create one for the jury of who our client is and how this event, how this motor vehicle wreck affected our client's life. And we try to package all that up so that a jury can go down the list of damages, or, of course, the insurance company can go down its list of damages and decide the value of this case. And we want to make sure that early on they're setting the value of their case, their reserves, as high as possible. And that's why you want to make sure that from the very beginning you have a competent attorney who's an experienced personal injury lawyer to be on your side and to work your case up as early as possible. Call us today.